And Matt. Of anything genetically that could be passed on to our kids. Um, I had different blood tests done to see what different levels of different hormones were looking like, testosterone, FSH, all kinds of things, blood sugar. There was like a panel of like 9 things. Like they took like 5 vials. I was like, dude, I can't watch this. Just do it and be done with it. I'm done.
So Alexis had all of these tests done from blood work, genetics, DNA, myself included also, but we quickly realized that the process of making a baby, the guy's part, it truly is it's semen. Semen is it, and then it just goes. And there's so many other factors and processes that go on with the female reproductive system that so much of the process has to do with that too. So it's one of those where provided a semen sample. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna say that or not. Provided a sample for the lab, and just real quickly came back that smooth swimmers, smooth sailing, no challenges, things like that. And so then really trying to focus on and hit on kind of the her side of things of trying to get it into place and ready to go.
Yeah, because like I said, the cycles have been off for a really long time. So therefore, like, the ovulation wasn't happening. So therefore, without that, it's really hard for anything to be happening. So, had to go through that. So Matt kind of got the clear, like, he's fine, not really a big deal. It was mostly me trying to figure out, getting my cycles in place.
Yeah.
And so acupuncture actually started to help within like 2 months of me going.
Short time.
Short time because I only go once a week. And so one time a week. And so then my cycle started showing up more often than it had been because there would be like months and months that could go by. And so it started showing up. So that was obviously showing
a good sign, a good progress.
Like,
it's moving.
It was right working, direction. And so something that felt like so surface level.
So I don't think you said specifically, but the acupuncture that she's specifically doing is fertility specific. I've never done acupuncture before, and I've never really thought of it. But you've learned that there are so many different avenues that acupuncture can help out. But Alexis is going specifically for fertility to better improve that area.
Yeah, and so he's really good. Like he always just gives really good information. So then he recommended to talk to a specific doctor that's been really good. And so when I reached out to talk to this doctor at Seattle Reproductive, she was like backed up. Like I think we reached out in June and she didn't have an opening until like September. And so I was like, And so they recommended to talk to one of the nurses there.
Mm-hmm.
And she had an appointment coming up quicker than September, like within a week or two. So we ended up having like a Zoom call and just kind of talking to her and explaining our situation, where kind of we were at, and she kind of got us on a plan of like of attack that we started with those blood panels, started with all of the genetic testing and all of that stuff to kind of see where we were starting at. And so then she recommended we waited a couple months about to the beginning of the school year and saw if anything was improving, and when it wasn't, we talked about starting different medication cycles. So I'm on a lot of different medications and supplements, like to stabilize and bring down blood sugar, to improve egg quality, taking prenatals in case something like that happens, taking like 9 different pills a day to just like try to stabilize everything. And so that's been a process for me because with all those medications I have to eat in the morning, I'm really not a morning eater. Like it's too early. I've just had to like really try to be good about eating breakfast, getting something in my stomach so that I can take them without feeling sick. And so this was one of the big things about going back to school that I was a little worried about, because one of the big main reasons that I chose to stay home and teach last year was I knew that we were in this process and that it wasn't easy, and that if I chose to go back to work, I would not put myself first, because I would get really wrapped up in work. I would care about my kids and care about everything other than taking time off to go to a doctor's appointment, or carving out that time to make it important when it was. And so it was hard for me to come to that realization that maybe I just didn't have the time management yet that I needed to be able to handle all of those things at once. I was unfamiliar with Seattle Reproductive at the time. Like, what is that going to look like? And I think that I had made that decision before I had really dove into all of those alternative options too. And it was just one of those where I knew I wasn't going to put myself first, and I needed to. Like, this was something that was important to the both of us. And so wanted to make it important in terms of my time and what got my attention. And so once all of those supplements and stuff didn't work, started on a started on a different medication of, it's called letrozole.
Mm-hmm.
And you take it for 5 days during your cycle, and it's supposed to force your body to ovulate. And so you go in, you get ultrasounds, see if the follicles are developing, all of these things. And the first round, you start at a really low dosage to kind of see how you react at it. First round, didn't do anything.
Nothing.
2.5 milligrams didn't do anything. So I bumped up to 5. And then when I went in to get the ultrasound done, to look at the follicles, because I have multiple follicles on each ovary, that really kind of points to PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that I have my body has a hard time regulating, cycles are off. The second round, she did the ultrasound, and Matt wasn't at that one. He was at work, but I had called him on the phone to kind of listen in to what the nurse was saying. And she was like, okay, I don't see anything on the left side. Let's go over to the right side and look. And she's like, look at this big follicle that's like ready. It was like huge on the screen. Like, obviously it's not that big, but like 22 millimeters is like pretty big for what they wanted it to be. So it was an indication that the medication had worked. And so, after she had left, and like, cause I got called immediately to go in, cause I went during my lunchtime at work, and I made it back before the kids got back. But I called Matt on the phone, and after the nurse had walked out for me to gather my stuff and get ready to go, I was emotional. I was like, it worked. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what it has been. It was not a pregnancy. It was not a baby.
Nope.
But it was a step in the right direction that had never been there before. And after almost 2 years of trying and not really much answers, and really getting to the part where you're really honed in on what exactly it is and what part of the aspect will work, that's a very overwhelming feeling.
Oh, it was a completely overwhelming feeling. I remember sitting there hearing it on the phone, and just kind of one of those where kind of emotion takes over you, of realizing that, you know, I may not be able to physically do a lot or be a part of that specific journey for her with the medication and the ultrasounds and things like that, but just that, you know, that mental and emotional towards her and for one another, of being able to be there, and to hear that, of just kind of going, all right, the ball's moving in the right direction. It's a good thing. It's a great thing that we are working towards, that we've been working towards for literally years now, that just hasn't happened. And so on the inside, I wanted to cry, but I was in front of a bunch of 5th grade students, so I wasn't about to let that happen. You know, I had to save face a little bit, but you know, I felt the emotions, and it was a very rewarding day of knowing that we've got this ball going, and we're getting closer and closer.
Yeah. And so at the end of that appointment, she kind of told us like what the next steps were, and to do a pregnancy test in the next 2 weeks, and then to If it was negative that I had more refills of letrozole, we would just try again the next cycle. And obviously, if it was, to let them know. And so those 2 weeks pretty much were our winter break. Like, but we were so busy. Like, we had family that we were here visiting. We had.
Wait, hold on. So the week before the start of winter break, we started our move
Oh,
from Bellevue here to Redmond, which absolutely love this place. But then that next week we spent it that transitional week of getting things here set out, set up, kind of getting ready to go, all while downhill, no brakes on the ski slope at school because school just so many things were changing and getting ready for a winter break. The week before winter break is truly a week like no other. It's like the last day of the school year every single day of the week of just
yeah,
pure joy and excitement
busy.
from both teachers, students, staff members. I would like to think parents too, but I don't know about that. And so then that first weekend of winter break, we officially moved out of our Bellevue place. So being done there and just the transition of life in general together to a new place. And then on top of this, it was a blur. I would say it was a blur.
Yeah, we've always only moved in the summertime when we didn't have work, but it was like hot outside. And so this was a new experience of not only moving when it's cold outside and raining, but in the middle of us working and like at a crazy time of the
Yeah.
year. So it was a blur and it was not. I'm happy that we're here now and we have most of the stuff unpacked, but I don't think I would do that again.
Of middle of the school year.
I was like, oh, it'll be great. Like, we have 3 week transition time between having to be out of our old place and like we don't have to move everything immediately. Like, it's okay. No, in some ways it was good, but in some ways it was not good. Like, it gave us a little bit more time to be lazy, I think, and like, oh, we'll just pick up this stuff later or we'll take it. Yeah, it was a very chaotic process. So it was already chaotic in our lives in general, but then with medical stuff going on top of it, it was very overwhelming in some parts. And so that 2 week wait, we spent a lot of time down in Olympia because my sister was here visiting for the holidays. Um, Spent a lot of time down in Olympia over Christmas time and the days before, days after. And so was able to test when we got back home finally, which was just about 2 weeks, and it was negative. And so I think that it's been a very emotional, it's been a very not just emotional like the highs, but there's been some really emotional lows. Like, it's just been very heartbreaking in a sense, and I think that these last couple of years have been filled with like a heartache that I haven't really been able to understand or haven't really been familiar with, cuz it's like a it's like grieving something that you never had. It's like it's not like you lost a kid, or it's not like you've had a kid and they're gone. Like, it's grieving something that you're wanting but is not happening. And so that was definitely a blow. I think that emotionally it's been just really hard year, and infertility I feel like is something that is not talked about very much, that people just kind of show up pregnant and you're like, that's awesome, like that's great, but there isn't really much people, or there isn't as much discussion around the other side of that, like
This side of it.
yeah, like the side that's really heartbreaking and the side that's really like, I thought that I'm doing all of the things right and I'm trying to figure out of how to make that work. And I think that it's been really tough to navigate how to cope with those feelings, because I'm in general a very happy, mostly happy person. Like, I try to see the positives in people. I try to be really friendly and outgoing to people. I like people to like me because I like other people. Um, and so it was really having, like, I ended up started going to therapy and counseling just to kind of navigate these feelings of jealousy that I had. And that's a really ugly feeling to feel inside. Like, you don't ever want to like dampen somebody else's happiness or make somebody feel like, oh God, I don't want to talk to Alexis about anything. She's always upset. Like, it was very hard to navigate how to be happy for so many other people that had babies in the last couple of years that we know. Very hard to navigate when you're dealing with your own sadness on the inside of like something that you're really wanting, something that you've been really trying to work hard towards. That was hard. It is hard. It's still hard. And trying to navigate all of those feelings because they are not easy.
Yeah, I kind of the sports reference I make, and I don't know if I just thought this on the spot or not, but I kind of think of it as every struggle that we go through with this. It's like the Steelers making it to the Super Bowl and then losing, and so it's that emotional level of not week after week, but event after event, and then hearing coworkers or friends getting pregnant, and you're excited and happy for them, but at the same time you know your own journey in the sense of it's not happening for us. It hasn't happened. We know that it's not a one-time thing, that we plan on having multiple babies and multiple kids and growing a family, and we're 28 right now, but it's those little comments from people of like, oh, we didn't mean to, it was an accident, all these things that we've heard of, but you only hear the end journey of infertility. Of, I don't remember who it was, but you showed me some picture of some lady that did in vitro, and she had something like 800 needles around her or something, of like just the process and the financial aspect of things that go into trying to get pregnant, and the emotional damage, because the whole point of the human race is to repopulate, and we have our specific gender specific jobs that we're supposed to do, and so when the things don't work and don't happen, it feels personal, but knowing it's not personal and it's a journey that we're in together, and seeing the little progress is very exciting, but at the end of the day, still not pregnant. And so, still making those decisions to focus on us and to do what we need to do, like her staying home from, not staying home from school, but electing to work remote instead of going back to in person before vaccines. Any of those nature and those aspects of things I was very proud of her, because it's so easy as a teacher to get tunnel vision and focus on your students.
Yeah. And so that's just been like one of the biggest things to navigate is just the feelings because I don't ever want people to be like, oh my God, we can't tell Alexis things. She's going to like have a meltdown, or we don't want to talk to them about this thing because, but also people don't know. So it's like people share their good news because they're so excited. And we are so excited for them. Like these coworkers and friends and family that we've had that have had kids in the last couple of years, there's not any part of us that is unhappy for them or anything like that. Like whether it was planned or accidental, planned, unplanned, doesn't really matter. Thrilled for you. Like
It's beautiful.
thrilled for you. It's great growing your family, but there was just that little twinge of jealousy that I had that I was like, this is not a feeling that I'm used to.
No.
I'm not used to feeling like somebody has something that I want that I can't get or that's really hard for me because my whole life has been very much work really hard to get the things that you want. I
Mm-hmm.
got really good grades in school. I got a job now that I love. I have friends that I maintain relationships with. I have a good relationship with my family. Um, and so it's been a very humbling experience that it doesn't matter how hard you might work on something, it still might not happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never wanted people to feel like I didn't want to share in their happiness. I think I explained a lot more of the situation just because I feel like as much as people wanted me to understand their happiness, I also wanted to bring to light that it sucks. It sucks. The process sucks sometimes, and it's really hurtful and it's painful. Um it's not hurtful people sharing their good news. That's not the hurtful part, of course. It's just battling the own pain that you have inside of, man, that's something that we've worked for a long time and it still hasn't happened. So, we're on another round of the medication right now. And so hoping that something comes from it. I mean, it's very much like a science experiment almost, like just trying to get the timings right, figure out what you're supposed to be doing, go in for other appointments at certain days and it's just very, have to write it down on a calendar because it's all very overwhelming. But um, I feel like we used to get comments a lot about, you should have your own baby. When are you having a baby? And it's just like, before it was funny, like we kind of joked about it, like I said about the cats. But
Because this was at the point
this was at the point before we were ready for kids.
Well, and we, being young and naive, we really thought that if we aimed for a certain time period, we would hit it and be able to take advantage with being teachers in the summers of that planned time off from school and being in person and being able to focus on that, but quickly realizing that at this point we could have a baby in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, or November, or December. It doesn't really matter at this point because that's what's more and most important at this point for us.
Yeah. So I think that the point of the video wasn't for like pity or, oh my god, Alexis and Matt are going through this really hard time and it's too bad and it's sad for them and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you guys. But I think it's just more to bring awareness to it that there are so many people's journeys that they're on that it could have very well came back that my insides were fine and there was an issue with Matt's, or it could have been that we both had an issue, or it could have been needing more um personalized interference like IUIs or IVF, or maybe it could have just turned out that maybe having kids naturally for us wasn't going to be a thing. And so it's been a very tough time and at times very isolating because you don't really know who to talk to about that. Like, it's hard to introduce yourself, like, hi, I'm also having infertility issues. Let's talk. And so, I mean, you kind of like dip your toes in the water, like, maybe is there anybody around us that might have kind of the same situations or same stories? But it's you're obviously it's hard to talk to the people that you see that are pregnant because I'm like, that might not have been an issue, but you never know, like they might have finally achieved something that they've been working for a really long time. And as tough and challenging and isolating and heartbreaking that it's been, it is nice to know that maybe we've turned a corner, maybe it's something that's working, that maybe it's making a step in the right direction. Because I know people go on infertility journeys for years and years and years, and sometimes even after that long of a time, it still doesn't result in anything. And so, for some people that are like, oh, well, 2 years isn't really that long, it could be way longer than that, until you're in the 2 year situation, or however long it takes you for how soon or how long you think that this process should take, until you've experienced it yourself, you definitely don't know how long 2 years feels of working towards something and it's not happening. So it's definitely been a journey, but it gives Matt and I an opportunity to continue to lean on each other and grow in our relationship in that sense, because this is nothing that we've went through before.
No.
So it's like we don't know how to act, we don't know what the other one's feeling, we don't know exactly how to help or how not to help. So it's been a growing process for the both of us. I mean, it hasn't been easy sometimes, it hasn't been fun sometimes, it hasn't been enjoyable all times. And so just being able to learn about one another in that sense and grow, I mean, as tough as it might have been, we're stronger now. I mean, if we hadn't gone through it, I mean, if it would have happened right away, I mean, I don't think it would have meant that our relationship was worse, but it just gives it a chance to grow in a way that we haven't had the chance to experience before.
It's a new experience and a new opportunity to grow and develop and understand and connect more on a, I think, on a more intimate level that may never have been there, or just that setting of it progressing like this and continuing like this, of continuing to understand that the frustration piece behind it, but also understanding that the little victories are really monumental in the step of being pregnant or becoming pregnant.
Yeah. And so I think when I had taken that negative test, the amount of soul crushing that was really hard. But looking at the future picture and being like, okay, um, we're on the right path. I mean, they didn't say that it was going to be guaranteed. It might take a couple rounds of it. But just to even give ourselves the best shot, like Matt and I haven't drank in about 2 months now, maybe about 2 months. It doesn't mean it necessarily affects anything, but why not give ourselves the best chance when we're on medications and doing these different timing things and ultrasounds that we're paying for, because insurance doesn't cover anything fertility wise. So why not give ourselves the best opportunity? And um, family and friends, I mean, they might ask or offer, but no one has pressured us to do anything that we don't need to do, because it's our journey. That they didn't necessarily tell us we didn't have to, but why not give ourselves the best opportunity that we can? And so I think that just having a conversation and it being open of, it's not always easy, it's not always fun, it sucks sometimes, but Matt definitely is the more optimistic one, that he sees the brighter side, or we're working towards something and it doesn't have to happen right now, is a saving grace. And the fact that if I just wallowed in, man, that sucks, it'd be harder to continue on the journey without results coming in that you want. And so I need to just, it's been hard to relish in the small victories, but eventually working towards the big plan of a human being. I mean, the small victories leading up to that are definitely worth celebrating, I think.
100%.
So I think that's mostly what we wanted to talk about today, just to kind of start off the new year, kind of sharing our journey, where we're kind of at. It obviously is inviting people into our personal lives and some of the things that we're going through. Um, but I think that it doesn't always, the stories don't always have to end with, and we're pregnant, because we're not. We're still not. And it's just still a part of our story that this is something that we're working towards. This is something that has been a new journey for the both of us. And just kind of wanted to put it out there that it's something that we're going through, that if other people around us are going through some of those things, know that you have friends and Matt and I to talk about, or talk about experiences, because we are definitely open to lending a ear or lending advice or telling you who we've talked to or what we've tried or all of the different things of, we're definitely here to help people with their journey too, and we would love to chat with you if you have um, questions or just want to share your story also. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're definitely open to hearing them.
Yeah. Well, if you've made it this far in the video, we greatly appreciate you staying focused and staying attentive. As both of us being teachers, there will be a quiz at the end of the video, so make sure your name is at the top of the paper. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, like it's not the end all goal. You know, this isn't the end of this. Just something of wanting to discuss and share, and then it's going to also be something for us to be able to look back and kind of see what steps we take in our, professional life, our adult life, our relationship life, our personal life, and just kind of see where the growth comes and where the growth goes, and what does our home look like whenever, I don't know, whenever we do another video. And it's just one of those of just kind of getting out here and just sharing where we're at, because there is no correct, perfect white picket fence family. It's not reality, and so many people.
You have said from the beginning, there's never a perfect time to have a baby, and there's not.
No.
Like, we graduated high school and we're like, okay, we know we're going to college, and then we were like, okay, we're done with college. Now we could maybe have a baby. We got married. We're ready to travel, do kind of our own things. And then we decided to go back to school, and we're like, nope, this isn't the right time either. And so, never a right time, but when you feel like your heart is ready, but biology is not quite on your side, but there would not be reproductive doctors to work with if there wasn't more people that were dealing with infertility issues.
Or a possible way to become pregnant.
Yep.
Through reproductive medicine.
Yep.
So
there's lots of different resources and avenues to turn down, and they wouldn't exist if people didn't need the help. So I'm grateful for acupuncture and Seattle Reproductive Medicine, and even our team at Kaiser that's been working with us as well. And it's been a journey so far, but we have felt nothing but supported by the doctors and nurses that we've been working with, and we're super, super grateful.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there will be a test at the end of the video.
Stop.
We greatly appreciate you checking us out. If you haven't checked out those previous videos of just, I don't know, our lives together and kind of where we're at, it's been a while since we've been on camera here. But definitely really exciting, and life seems like it's not slowing down, but gaining more of a control and understanding and balance of work and life and personal life, and just really trying to focus on continuing to improve myself, and Alexis is trying to improve herself, and we really look forward to hearing from you, and we hope that you enjoyed the video, and until next time,
stay tuned for more to come.
More
to come this year, I feel like.
All right, she's on it. She's the director and producer for it. I set none of this up, I promise.
Yeah.
Nah. But yeah, we greatly appreciate it, and we hope that you're doing well, and we understand that everyone has their own demons and their own battles that they go through, that for some, pregnancy might have been the easy part, but baby might have been the difficult part, or family relationships and things like that. So in no means, if you got pregnant quickly, is that a bad thing or a good thing. It's just your story and your journey, and we hope that we're able to connect with some people, or maybe reconnect with some people from this if you did tune in and watch it. And if you ace the test, then we'll give you extra credit. So, but yeah, so I guess more to come for sure. We'll be setting up a little studio up here in our new apartment, and we just greatly appreciate your time. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Matt.
Alexis.
And thank you very much for tuning in with
Socializing with the Sparkles. Bye.
Bye.